Good sticks, everyone. Welcome to the Captain Avalanche Fancast, your unofficial source for all things Colorado Avalanche hockey and more from a fan perspective, hosted by me, Captain Avalanche Corey, and I still don't know if we can use the Jaws theme, Dom. Now, we're no insiders. We're not inside the locker room face-to-face with our favorite players, but we hope to create a relatable and welcoming environment because we're just like all of you listening. Fans with a deep passion for the game of hockey, and in this case, the Colorado Avalanche. Don't look now, but the Colorado Avalanche have won 9 games in a row. The last time they lost was in overtime on November 1st. To who? The San Jose Sharks, who stand in their way this Wednesday night where the Avs will attempt to make it 10 in a row. Dom and I will be attending the game, so if you're listening to this episode day of and you're also going to be there, go ahead and hit us up on our Instagram and we'll happily let you know where we are in the lower bowl and where we're sitting so you can come and say hello. We'd love to meet you. The Rangers played the Avalanche as tight as ever, but then so did the Predators and the Blackhawks. The goal scoring was a little dry this weekend, but that gave the goaltending tandem for the Avalanche time to shine. Dom got to glow about his goaltenders last week, and this week the Sharks started getting back on track again, but is winning too much of a challenge some days? We will also discuss a topic that's old news at this point, but we missed it last week, and it's just too colorful not to talk about. Also, is Mikko Rantanen entering his villain arc? All this and more on this week's episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. Color on color. Recently, we saw the Red Wings and God, can we ever say it right? Is it possible? I don't think it is.
Red Wings.
Wet Wings. We saw the Red Wings and Rangers square off in their centennial jerseys in Madison Square Garden. And in a word, it was awesome. I don't even want to talk about the game, which was entertaining in its own right and ended up with an absolute bench-clearing brawl when Jonathan Quick took exception to the Red Wings firing a puck into an empty net after the final horn. This led to an absolute all-time hockey photo of a sea of blue and red players dogpiled and fists flying and chaos reigning. I honestly might have to get a print of it, but notice I said blue and red jerseys, not Rangers home blue and visiting Red Wings white. As previously stated, both teams were wearing their centennial jerseys, leading to a color-on-color clash in a game. It was same as the game. Wait, what? It was same as the game. Awesome. There we go. Though it's likely not the first time, it certainly shouldn't be the last time, and I'm realizing NHL teams need to do this more, and I'm questioning why don't NHL teams do this more? Apparently, the NHL is pushing for it, and they absolutely should. Home-colored jerseys are usually a team's best, and can you imagine some of the cool clashes that we can get? So, Dom, I figured I'd come up with a few questions, and we can have a duo brainstorm session. So, first and foremost, what are some epic team color clashes that we could get if we did this more? I'm sorry, I'm going to steal this right away because I have an idea and I don't want you to sneak into my brain like you always do and steal it. Kings and Vegas, silver on gold. That would look sick.
Well, yeah, I didn't think of that one at first. Silver and gold would look sick. I hate both of those teams.
I know.
The only thing I would enjoy, I would love it if both of those jerseys turned red by the end of the night. No, I'm just kidding. I don't actually want the players to get injured. But if both teams could lose in that game, I'd love to see it. If I could just see the jerseys. I love the silver and gold idea, especially as we get closer. I know we're not past Thanksgiving, and I'm the biggest proponent of Thanksgiving first. Let's celebrate Thanksgiving. Also, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, by the time you're listening to this.
Yes, true.
But I do you know that what one of those old claymations with the silver and
it's
gold,
from Rudolph, yeah.
Silver. Yes, from Rudolph. Thank you. I can't believe I couldn't remember it was Rudolph. So it seems fitting. If we were going to have a Christmas game, it be between the Kings and the Knights and they wear silver and gold. I don't know. could see that. And while on that theme, I think there's plenty of opportunities for red and green
Yeah, I was gonna say.
in for a Christmas game. If you have Minnesota wearing green against any number of teams that wear red, I mean, Detroit's an example. Chicago is an example in their own division, so very doable. Um, Calgary, of course,
I
in
was
the red.
thinking Dallas and New Jersey for that. That's where my mind went immediately for some reason.
Well, that is no, that's totally fair. Those are both some teams that are higher up in the standings that we see in the playoffs that we just happen to talk about more often than not on this. I don't know about New Jersey, but with the Hughes injury, I feel like it's just they're constantly in the orbit of conversation. I went with Minnesota because they already had both red and green in there, so I like your idea more of a more stark contrast between the two.
Well,
But getting back to your original question, I don't know if it would necessarily be cool as much as I think when you have a team like Nil who wears yellow, how different really are yellow and white? If you're looking for a dark color and a light color, they don't necessarily have to go together super well. It's just if you're trying to differentiate teams and you're the team wearing yellow against a team wearing blue, it's going to be pretty clear. I think blue and yellow, both being primary colors, work very well. So there's a lot of opportunities. So I guess I think Nashville is one of those teams that would probably end up wearing white jerseys much less often, just based on the fact that there's not a lot of teams that have yellow.
yes, that is an, I don't want to say underutilized color because yellow is a very slippery slope. Yellow can only be used well, and I think, in my opinion, and I'm sure some fashionistas would disagree with me, but in very limited ways. But man, off the top of my head, what are some other ones? Because I already have some that I know would not work, but I don't want to get to that just yet. But what are some other ones that would just absolutely smack if the two teams came together? Hmm.
I
Maybe
mean,
the
if you want to
Bruins and the
talk blue and
Habs.
red, yeah, the Bruins and the also with those like old school teams, the Bruins and the Habs would go well. I was thinking if you go blue and red, you could go Tampa and Florida. The Battle of Florida with color on color could
Oh my
be
god,
exciting
yeah.
to watch.
That'd be awesome. Why did I even think of that? Or like Philly and Pittsburgh? That would, oh my god.
Yeah, those type of rivalry games, color on color, would be a lot of fun. Like I would love to see also the contrast of like the Sharks wearing teal against like the Ducks with their more orange
Oh,
unis.
that would
Just
look
like
sick.
I didn't want to go start with the Homer one, but I would love to see it, especially since the California teams are good again across the board. Like I the hockey guy said it on one of his episodes, but whenever Vancouver would have to go on that road trip through California, he was always like, "Well, they're going into the shadow of the valley of death. So if they lose, oh well. I'm not even sad about it at this point. I just know what's going to happen." And it's not quite there yet, but could you imagine those teams in California, the color playing against each other back to like 10, 15 years ago when they were all really good and then they had a splash of extra color? I don't know. It just sounds fun to me. That's my homer coming out a little bit more. I pass it back to you, Captain.
The orange and teal would look really good. You're gonna have to come up with one more because I have like two more bites of this taco to finish, and I really would like to finish it. So you gotta brainstorm for me right now so I can eat this taco.
Okay. Well, you know what I'd like to see, honestly? If they were to do the Whalers versus the Nordiques again, instead of the Whalers on the white, could I see that in the original, like the blue and green against, and the Nordiques keep with like the lighter shade of blue? I don't know. Maybe it's there. Maybe there's too much blue there, and that becomes an issue. But I feel like going with those two retro logos, those throwback logos, and also doing color on color could just maybe not with the contrast take it to another level, but the uh, what's the word I'm looking for? I think the concept of it when we got to see them play and all the graphics were showing Quebec and Hartford and things like Whalers and stuff. It wasn't, even though it was an Avalanche versus Hurricanes game, everything, even on the broadcast, was treating it as if it was a legitimate throwback game. So I feel like if you just take that even to the next level with color on color, it could be even more thrilling. But again, maybe those colors are too similar for that example.
No, I think it would work because I think in terms of dark versus light, the Whalers are dark enough to where it would contrast, I think, pretty well against the powder blue. Plus, you have the big red Nordiques logo versus like a dark green. I think it'd be fine, but that would be cool. I wish they could have done something like that where they did the color, color on color. So no, I agree. Well, with some of those that absolutely would work, what are some that absolutely would not work? I think the one that came to my mind right away was the Sharks and the Kraken, teal on different teal, darker teal on slightly lighter teal. That yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Rangers versus the Islanders.
That would just be brutal.
Oh no, the
Like
absolute
trying to tell the
worst.
difference based on the orange and the red.
Yeah, the absolute worst blue on blue, Tampa and the Leafs.
Oof. Yeah. There's not enough accent color in either of those. That would be impossible.
Straight
Tampa
blue
versus
and
the
white.
Leafs. Yeah, that would have to go down as the worst. Backtracking though, you're right about San Jose and Seattle. That's where my mind went first. And imagine if they both wear their alternates. So Seattle's wearing the glow in the dark black, and we wear our black fin, and it's black on black. You could also get that against like LA with their black jerseys.
You just
with the black and silver.
You just never see the puck on the ice, I guess. You just get absorbed by the void.
Yeah, I guess not. That's a good point.
You know what we do need is Dallas in their Mountain Dew neon black ones versus Seattle in their black glow in the dark ones.
Ugh. That I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't mind that because then I could root for Seattle in those sick glow in the dark jerseys. I hate how good they are. I really do.
Speaking of, did you see Dallas revealed their throwback 90s jerseys today?
Oh, I did not, but now I'm going to go do a quick Google.
I am a fan, honestly, which I know is insane for me to say, but I do fuck with those. Definitely a hell of a lot more. Yeah, definitely a hell of a lot more than the fucking Mountain Dew jerseys. But no, I like them. I like them.
Oh, that just looks more stars than their current jerseys do now. Like, you have that old hinty yellow in there from when they were the North Stars, the shape of the star in the color, like going out onto the arms and on the like the legs of the star, if you will, in front. Yeah, that well done. Good job to the design team.
What we need is to bring back the Mooterus jersey and the Predators shitty mustard yellow one, and have the Stars and the Predators play a game in those.
And next on ugliest jerseys in NHL history coming together in a clash.
Didn't the Nashville Predators once have a jersey that had like the Sabretooth skull on it? I saw that logo the other day when I was making the game day post. And I was like, whoa, that's sick. Why is that not on a jersey? I think it might have been like a shoulder patch. It was cool.
I don't know if it's a primary logo, but I have seen the logo you're talking about, and I think it was one of those accent ones. Seeing how teams are doing alternate jerseys now, though, I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes one here in the future, especially as that team is in the dumps and they need to sell jerseys somehow.
Yeah, true. But on to the final thought train here. Should the idea of color on color jersey action be reserved for special occasions, or should it just be something that happens more often? What do you think, Tom?
Well, I see two schools of thought here. I think the big issue is you want the home team to have their choice of jersey, right? And if they have these specialty jerseys, like if the Sharks are wearing teal normally, and then they roll up in black, you couldn't show up in black and call that your alternate if you normally play color. So I guess that it just becomes a little bit more complicated because the home team is never going to be happy with the road team outdoing them on jerseys unless it is a planned special occasion where they're both showing up. But like I use Nashville as an example, when you wear yellow and white is the other option, how about design another fun jersey if yellows are your primary that then becomes your alternate, or yellows you wear on the road when other teams are wearing their color? Like personally, and maybe it's because I'm here in Colorado and I want to get to see the black jerseys with my own eyes more. But when your colors are teal and black and your primary is teal, then your road jersey should be your secondary color, right? If your home jersey is your primary color, your road jersey is your secondary color. So it's not a strong logical path, and it is very biased because I want to see the Sharks wear black here against Colorado because it would be sick.
It would look sick.
But it's probably not realistic because that's also a third jersey alternate that everyone knows looks sick and it's classic. Do the Avs really want the Sharks walking into their building and having the cooler jerseys on the ice? And again, I'm biased. I know I am, folks. I think the Avs jerseys are awesome, but the point stands, and that's why I use it as this example.
No, I totally hear you. And I think for me, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle where I do think it should happen more often. But I also think, if you do it too much, then it kind of loses that luster. It loses what made it so cool. Like the reason that the Red Wings and the Rangers did is because they're both celebrating their centennial seasons along with all the other original 6 teams. Or I guess not with all of them, but with the Bruins and the Blackhawks. And yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I think it would be cool then if we just made up reasons for more special occasions, I think is really what I'm saying. Like maybe with like Winter Classics, you have both teams wearing a colored jersey and that, and you have more reasons for that to come together. I'd like to see more games like this in general. Because I liked it. I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and what you're saying about the occasions makes sense. I think, like I was saying, there could be some teams where it's a reasonable exception to the rule based on their color scheme. If they're like, well, using black, white, and yellow and white aren't so different after all. So that like I said there, but if they're scheduled, I think the Winter Classic, Stadium Series type of games where you're already bringing a special jersey anyway, why not have both teams be color? I think first game of the season is a great opportunity where the defending Stanley Cup champions, whoever their opponent is, comes in, or maybe the first matchup between the two teams that reached the Stanley Cup the year prior would be color on color. So we would see Edmonton with like the blue and orange against Florida with the red. So just trying to think of other occasions that we could do. You could do it if there's milestones for players, if it's a player's 1,000th game, or if it's a franchise's milestone game as a franchise, and they're playing on the road, maybe you do that way. I don't know. It becomes tougher there. But it started with thinking like how when Jumbo Joe Thornton in the past week was honored for his Hockey Hall of Fame induction and did the puck drop against LA. And I mean, he knew Kopitar for LA. He's known him a long time. And then obviously Celebrini. That to me, when you have a player like that whose name is being lifted into the rafters, even though you're obviously at home, if the road team's wearing their jersey too and it just puts on a better show for all the fans, I feel like those are cases that you could make an argument for as well.
Totally. And hey, I mean, the Stars are getting a Stadium Series game next year, and for some reason their opponent hasn't been determined. And I mean, I think we all know who their opponent should be. But I mean, it makes too much sense. And man, I'd love another crack at a Stadium Series jersey. Some people didn't like the Air Force one. I'm of the minority that I do actually like it, but it'd be cool to see what they could come up with next, especially as the visiting team rather than the home team. So, yeah. Oh, and I guess that, nope, never mind. Scratch that. I thought it meant, nope. Never mind. Don't listen to me, everybody. I'm insane. I'm a psycho.
Well, even if you're psycho, I like listening to you, but I appreciate this conversation because I do think, especially if the league is growing and trying to continually raise the salary cap, part of that is jersey sales.
Yep.
And that's why, they're going to change the logos every here and there and bring in these alternate jerseys. But if you have multiple colored jerseys for a team, that's where I'm talking about with primary and secondary colors, you have two really good jerseys that can sell well. So I think it could accomplish their goal, and fans can also just pick what they enjoy and appreciate as far as a jersey. Like, I mean, I guess there are rules currently about how many times they can wear these alternate jerseys, I feel like. And so if there was a little bit of a relaxation on that and let the teams have a little bit more free reign, as long as it doesn't, again, have a clash of it's a Toronto versus Tampa like we talked about, that would cause a problem. But just, have a little bit more fun, because I'd love to see these Heritage 2.0 jerseys more often. Hell, I'd love to see them be back to the Sharks primary or the shark fin logo. Like, I love the teal and it's classic, but of the Sharks logos they can roll out with, the pure teal one is third out of 3 that I'd like to see. Let alone then there's obviously the road whites. So my point is that there's a lot of better options, and I think it's the same for all the teams across the league. So it's a good opportunity for the fans, the teams, and obviously the league with revenue.
Absolutely. Well, if there are no final thoughts on that, we will move along into our next topic. Now, Dom, you probably saw my notes. I just have a straight section here. So if I say something and you want to jump in, just scream into the ether and I will pause and allow you to interject whatever you need. But there's not really a lot of pausing points here. I'm just going to roll into it. And like I said, if you have anything you want to jump in with, just do it without fear of retribution. I have no qualms with you just shouting out. And yeah, all right. Let's talk about goaltending. For a long time now, ever since the Avalanche have been perennial contenders for the Cup, they have lived by the next man up mentality. And it is a mantra that they had to flex many a time throughout the last 5 to 6 seasons, as they have battled injury after injury, and different players have had to step up into different roles to help this team succeed. A bottom 6 guy has to take a spot in the top 6. A prospect is called up and needs to be a difference maker. But this motto goes beyond just stepping up in times of injury. Even when the Avalanche are fully healthy, there is always need to be a next man up. For example, if the Avalanche only relied on Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, and Martin Necas to do all the scoring for them night in and night out, then we would end up with results like we have for the past few seasons now. No. Next man up means on nights when one player or group of players can't get the job done, someone else can step up and will. That has been the glory of the Avalanche's depth this season. The big boys, while they are still playing and scoring like the big boys, don't have to shoulder the burden of carrying this club night in and night out. That's why I'm sick of people saying that MacKinnon and Makar are carrying this team. Would it be the same without them? Absolutely not. Are they continuing to play otherworldly? Yes, and you wouldn't expect anything less of them. But there are still nights where they leave points on the table. They just can't get that tuck or crucial goal. Someone else will. Whether it's the second line, the third line, or the grinding fourth line. It also doesn't matter who is where within the lineup. Anyone right now can step up and score for this team. But this thought train extends beyond just offense. Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the world, and shockingly to some, is good on both sides of the puck, and often has the toughest matchups against the other team's top players. But he is just one man, and still human. Even he will have a rough night, and when he does, another defender will step up to shine in that game, even if it's 40-year-old Brent Burns. This week, the players who were next up was the goaltending for the Colorado Avalanche.
I'm going to jump in right here, if that's all right. I think you make a good point here. The only thing I'd say is Cale and Nate are carrying this team. They're just not carrying it alone. They can still be carrying the team and leading the league in their respective statistics and putting up just insane, really, numbers. But that doesn't mean, I think, when you have this good depth and this next man up mentality, they can still carry the largest portion of the weight, but they're not carrying it alone. It's, if you're lifting as a team, you're all still carrying the weight of the team. It's just divided among more people. And I think that also allows your stars to shine. I mean, look at how, as a team, the Avalanche have like the top 5 players in plus minus in the entire league. And I think another 3 or 4 in the top 20 across the whole league. So I think it helps lift everyone up when other guys chip in. And it doesn't mean Nate or Kale are lifting any less. They just, now their superhuman strength is more able to be on display and to be the difference in games rather than just bringing the Avalanche to the median and get the bare minimum done.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I guess just when I see people say, Mac and Makar carrying, it's almost like, and not to shit on your team, it feels more like they're saying like they're doing everything for the team offensively, kind of like Celebrini is doing a lot of the goal scoring right now and set up for the Sharks. He is definitely the engine that drives their offense right now. But I mean, Nathan MacKinnon certainly is as well. It just, to me, it ultimately feels like people are trying to not recognize the fact that the rest of the depth on the Colorado Avalanche are also contributing in a much bigger way than they have in years past. Would I say the past couple seasons have MacKinnon and Makar carried this team to a bigger extent? Yeah, I would. But this year, not only are they still scoring at the prolific rate that they always do, but as you said, they're now getting carried, or they're now carrying as a team as a whole. The Avalanche carrying as a team as a whole. That was so poorly said and constructed. I'm so sorry, everybody, but you're right, Dom. You put it much more eloquently than I just did.
You're doing great, brother, and I follow what you mean, and that's a good point as well, where I think the key here is they never stopped. Their production hasn't dipped. It's up, if anything, and yet they aren't responsible for everything. Because you're right. Choo choo, Celebrini is the fucking engine of everything good on the offense for the Sharks. And I know you have your own choo choo train, who's, I hope, healing up and will be back in the lineup soon if he's not already.
Non-contact. He's doing all right.
Cool. And then that's the point, though. That's the perfect example of next man up as well. So those injuries happen and you're still on a 9-game winning streak. Okay, like that is insane. It is wonderful. So, I mean, statistically, the Avalanche are an anomaly that this being this good is not supposed to happen.
Man, MacLeod Celebrini really is driving the bus on your team. I just pulled up your guys' stats. I'm curious, like, how many of the goals that Will Smith has scored is Macklin assisted on, and yeah.
Oh wait. How many goals does it show Will Smith has scored on there? What's
7.
the current total?
On Hockey Reference?
Okay, great.
7.
Okay, so I actually know this for a fact, and I meant to say this like a week or two ago because it was shown on the screen. Macklin Celebrini has an assist on every single one of those 7 goals Will Smith has. 5 out of the 7, it's the primary assist.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, I guess my point then, therefore, was not unfounded. So, yeah. All right.
Oh, your point is valid. He's just a game breaker.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And you know what? The Will Smith is the perfect pairing for him right now. It's working. It's electric. If I think about the two of them not being together, I don't even want to think about it. It's not a universe I want to exist in, especially since they're just so fun. Can I say they're cute together? They're just like a couple of little kids who are just horsing around in their free time and just being weird and silly, and yet they go out there and they're stone cold killers. Like, love that ability to both be able to still enjoy the game and embrace being a young player in the NHL and also be quickly climbing up to the pinnacle.
I don't think it's inappropriate to say that they're cute. All right, I'm going to keep rolling. Goaltenders step up. Recall last week when I talked about goaltenders stealing wins for their team, when I spoke so highly on Scott Wedgwood, which he still deserved, and how he stole the Islanders game for the Avalanche. Forget everything I said last week forget everything I said last episode, because this most recent week might as well have been the equivalent of the goalies picking up a loss, or that. Oh my God. Okay. So forget everything I said about goalies stealing games last week, because last week might as well have been the equivalent of goalies picking up a lost penny on the ground. This week, both goaltenders for the Colorado Avalanche committed grand larceny on the Nashville Predators and the Chicago Blackhawks. Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood truly took what should have been surefire wins at home for both of the aforementioned teams and turned them into continued wins for the Avalanche through sheer force. They were unrelenting to an absurd degree on a weekend where the Avalanche, a team whose goal differential is so utterly broken that it is the equivalent of the top 5 teams behind them, could only muster 2 even strength goals, where the Avs truly lost a step for about 4 periods of hockey and didn't look like an utter wagon for the first time nearly all November. The goaltenders, the lumberyard, stood up and said, "Don't worry, boys, we got you," and performed some of the most stunning acrobatics and gymnastics. They rejected the puck going into the net harder than that 10 out of 10 did to you at the club. There are truly no right combination of words in the English lexicon to properly express just how dynamite the Avalanche's goaltending tandem was this weekend, but I will do my absolute best. If you couldn't tell, instead of discussing and analyzing this week's 3 contests from our traditional perspective, we're doing a specialty segment all about the Avalanche's goaltending, both past and present. All right, Dom, you lost out on your time.
You're on a roll. Keep on going.
All right. For those,
keep going.
For those who are possibly unaware, when the Colorado Avalanche acquired goaltender Mackenzie Blackwood, they did so by sending Alexander Georgiev away to the Sharks along with Nikolai Kovalenko and a couple picks. Real happy memory for Dom. After Georgiev finished his season with the Sharks, in which he only posted a .875 save percentage through 30 starts, a literal 1,000% better than his 0.874 with the Avalanche through 17 starts, he was informed he would not be re-signing with the Sharks. Then, after a long summer, he was picked up by Buffalo when it seemed like all their goalies were injured and the situation was that dire. He played a single preseason game and was sent down to the AHL to play on the Rochester Americans, where he was given 2 starts and did not win a single game, and currently sits with a GAA of 3.57 and an 8.96 save percentage. Why am I talking about Georgiev? A few reasons. One, had to burp. One is that he is currently terminating his contract with the intent of leaving America and the NHL to go and play hockey in the KHL. The sentiment from Avs fans, at least, is that they wish him all the best, and I do as well, because he has just not been able to recover since his rapid downfall last season. As Arif Dean of Colorado Hockey Now said, his downfall needs to be studied. After all, Georgiev led the NHL in wins for 2 years when he was with the Avs. And in his first year with the club, he posted 40 wins in 62 games and had a .918 save percentage and a 2.53 goals against. Colorado seemed like the place for him after getting snubbed the starting role in New York. He was poised to prove the haters wrong. He followed that up with another 38 wins and a less strong .898 save percentage and an okay 3.02 goals against average in 63 games played. Not quite as good as the previous seasons, but still the most wins, an all-star appearance, and a playoff series where he would out-duel that year's Vezina winner Connor Hellebuck. It felt like, despite a rough regular season, that Georgiev was primed for a rebound the following year. He wasn't. At this same time last year, through 22 games, the Avalanche were 12-10-0. They couldn't even make it to OT. With a team save percentage at 5-on-5 of .882 and 67 goals allowed at 5-on-5, including 2 shorthanded goals, off of 571 shots. That number is important. Remember it. Against, with Georgiev and Oninen as their goalie tandem. This year, the Avalanche are 16-1-5 with a save percentage of .928 at 5-on-5 and only 41 goals allowed at 5-on-5, also with 2 shorties. And off of, insanely, also 571 shots against, with Scott Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood as their goalie tandem. That is a little over 48% difference in goals allowed at 5-on-5 for the Avalanche between these 2 seasons. That is a stark contrast. We've beaten the dead horse even more so at this point, but it truly and honestly cannot be understated just how big of a shift having competent goaltending has been for the Avalanche. It allows this team the freedom to play the way they want and not boxing them into playing a way they are forced to. We talked about Edmonton last week during the power rankings and how there are parallels between them right now and last season's Avalanche, where when Edmonton is playing in front of a goaltender that they feel confident in, they are a hyper-fast, free-flowing hockey team that can utterly carve through your opposing defenses and score goals with skill and flair. But when you don't trust your goaltender, you are playing more conservatively and fighting to try and keep the puck away from the net because you are fearful that you won't get a save. Thus was proven as the Stars scored 4 unanswered goals in the first period tonight past Stuart Skinner. We got to watch the Avalanche do that.
6-1 right now.
I'm sure it's not gotten any better. We got to watch the Avalanche do that exact thing and struggle all the way until Scott Wedgwood came in and literally saved their season with 1 comeback performance. I don't have this written here, but it cannot, I like to use the word understated because that's the right word. It cannot be understated just how important that Buffalo game was. Like, yeah, it sucks that Buffalo blew the fucking 4-goal lead. That's terrible. Had the Avalanche lost that game even after Scott Wedgwood came in, I don't know what would have happened at that point. But because Scott Wedgwood came in, pitched a shutout for that game, and allowed the Avalanche to then score 5 unanswered to win the game, that was genuinely a turning point in the mentality for this club. It allowed them to believe in somebody. Believe you me, it would have ended much differently for the Avalanche had Chris McFarland and Sakic not done something and done something fast. The Avalanche were the first team to ever change out their entire goaltending tandem before Christmas. And it worked. It more than worked. And now the Avalanche have a goaltending tandem locked up for at least 2 seasons and their number 1 goaltender for 5. Hell, right now, the Avalanche goaltending is operating at such a high level that the Avalanche have a 1A and 1B tandem. And that's with one of their goalies being being 33 years old and a career backup. The Avalanche had the literal worst tandem by every metric before Oninen and Georgiev departed. Now it's argued that they have one of, if not the best. Blackwood, who finally seems to have his mojo back, is rocking a .911 save percentage, and Wedgwood is at a .918 save percentage and is top 5 in the entire NHL.
Wait, Blackwood's like fully back? 911.
Yeah.
Like percentage. Jeez. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Well, that's going to make tomorrow that much more interesting.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter who you get, bro. It's not great for. It's like when you're an opposing fan, you see either goaltender in the net, you're just like, back.
I really hope, and I know I've been hyping it up, and November has been the month of Askarov, but I really, really hope we're starting Askarov to make it a duel, because Ned has started to look like more of a backup, serviceable, but nowhere near as good as what you're having as the 1A, 1B setup over there.
What's even crazier still is that this tandem is out dueling top goaltenders and tendies that are often viewed as better than either goalie. For example, people say, I would rather take the opponent's goalie over Blackwood or Wedgwood, despite them playing well. Now, it's becoming undeniable that you may be picking wrong if you don't pick Blackwood or Wedgwood. Against New York, arguably the toughest outing for the Avalanche goaltending this week. Oh, God, I can't see my notes. The Rangers did something that few teams have been able to do to the Avs, and that's score on the power play. That's where you always need your goalie to be your best penalty killer. However, it was a tough night for the entire penalty killing unit. But the Rangers only scored one of their 3 goals 5-on-5. The Avs broke through and scored 4 on Igor Shesterkin, who certainly was doing his damnedest to keep the Rangers in the game and seemingly gets no thanks from his teammates for it. But in the head-to-head battle against arguably the most consistent goalie in the NHL over the last 5 seasons, Scott Wedgwood won the duel. The Rangers always make for a butt clencher against the Avs, as the last 6 matchups between these two teams have been decided by 1 goal. No matter how the Rangers' season seems to be going, they always play the Avalanche well. And by all means, this game, not counting empty netters, was still decided by 1 difference-making goal. Did the Avalanche do a good job of keeping their end clear for Wedgwood, who only saw 19 shots on the evening versus Igor's 33? Yes. But Scott made 1 more save where Shesterkin didn't. And again, only allowed 1 goal at 5-on-5. Then came the weekend from hell. The Avalanche walked into Nashville, the 2nd worst offense in the entire league, and were seemingly determined to allow them to score. But perhaps it was all a 4D chess move to really wake up Mackenzie Blackwood and reignite his confidence. Perhaps Bednar truly wanted to test the team's supposed number 1 goaltender and instructed his players to allow Nashville to absolutely shell Blackwood, because that's what happened. In the first period, I kept telling people the Preds outshot the Avs by nearly 20, and that's what it looked like until it was corrected to a measly 16-6 Preds. The Avalanche barely allow that many shots from their opponents across 2 periods, not 1. They just couldn't get the puck. The Preds utterly dominated possession across nearly the entire game and outshot the Avs 35-26. It is incredibly rare that the Avalanche ever get outshot, let alone by that much. Now, I joked as the game went on that the fluky goal Brent Burns scored 15 seconds in was going to be it. I didn't expect to be right. I think he truly caught Saros off guard before he was truly in game flow, because he was nearly equally as incredible as Blackwood, posting a .958 save percentage. But Blackwood was truly another level of dialed in, and he seemed to truly awaken into full season form in this game. Truly nothing was getting past him, and he had a chance to get warm early. This is the purest example of a goaltender stealing a game. Go watch the highlights. I guarantee you that most of it is just Blackwood save after Blackwood save, and that is truly all that happened for the Avalanche this game. Yes, they got some empty netters, but Blackwood, was the star by an incredibly wide margin. The Avalanche should not have won this game, but Blackwood made sure they did. He then went into the locker room and talked some friendly trash to tandem partner Scott Wedgwood, who didn't like being outdone after posting a lot of 1-goal games but no shutouts. So he came out the very next night where the Avalanche had another slow start, allowing the Blackhawks to outshoot them 11-2 in the first, once again, allowing their goaltender to get warm and into the game right away. However, unlike the previous night, the Avalanche turned it around in the second, where they shelled the Hawks goalie Spencer Knight with 19 shots to the Blackhawks' 1. It was during this time the Avs got their only goal and the only goal in another tight contest, with Avs call-up Tristan Nielsen getting a nice assist off the pads to set Makar up for his 9th of the season. I'd argue that Knight had an equally impressive game to Wedgwood despite not getting the shutout. Ross Colton seemed like a man on a mission to score a goal, and he simply could not solve Knight. Knight allowed the Blackhawks to weather the storm in the second and then come out for a big push in the third. Scott Wedgwood, as previously mentioned, had a sleepy second, having to only stop one shot, which can be dangerous going into a third as he had time to get comfortable, fall out of the game, but he didn't. And despite a massive push from the Hawks in the final 2.5 minutes, a penalty turned around, and an absolutely insane last-second save, he also got his first shutout of the season. The Avs will lose again eventually. Hopefully they keep this streak going for as long as possible, but they will lose. It is a simple fact of the game, simply a fact of sports, especially in a league where you play as many games as the NHL does. Hell, even the team with the least number of losses of all time, the number of which you'll learn later, still had losses. I can promise you, though, whenever the Avalanche lose next throughout the rest of this season, I highly doubt it will be on the goaltenders.
Well, wow. That was quite the impressive run there, Corey, and a great summary. Couple great things there. I think anyone who is saying I would take this goalie as an Avs fan over either of your goaltenders.
I'm not just saying as Avs fans.
Or
I'm just saying
yourself.
anybody. They'd be like, for example, THG. It's like, oh, well, I'd rather take this goaltender over Blackwood still, even though they're playing great. It's like, well, who knows? Who knows?
Sure. Well, and I think that's where bias comes in because THG is a known fan of Dallas. So is he going to rather have Ottinger over most guys? Sure. And the Otter's also really good. So his argument is sound in that regard. Like if you're a Winnipeg fan, are you going to take anybody over Hellebuck? Probably not. But if you're an Avalanche fan in particular, and you would rather have a different goaltender than either of yours, educate yourself because they're doing really, really good. That was just point A that I wanted to say as a call in to all the Avs fans out there, because enjoy it, embrace it. I don't know how many times we have to glaze these guys to let you know that they're really that good. Or at least they're playing that good this year. If you out there don't believe they're that good, then shame on you. Also Spencer Knight, that kid is something.
Yeah,
and
he's great.
He is the reason that the Blackhawks are in the playoff conversation at all, because I feel like their offensive side hasn't really changed lineup-wise too much to last year. So the difference is really key is the goaltending, and it has allowed them to play more free as well, similar to what you were describing with the Avalanche and the Edmonton situation of whether or not you're playing to not lose, playing to not give up a shot, as opposed to taking shots of your own and playing to win. I'm happy for the Avalanche. I do hope that the Sharks, who were the last team to defeat them, can also be the next one and have a fun little kryptonite storyline brewing, especially if Askarov is in net at the other end and we get a true goalie duel. I'm not trying to constantly go back to the Sharks against the Avs, but since it's like literally right around the corner, it feels like an opportunity to almost preview the potentials and see how wrong I am after the fact.
I don't know, man. I'm not saying that y'all are going to be poor because you've had much better playing this season than last, but I do know, I would like to think I know the Avalanche decently well, and they, like I said, they seldom let lightning strike twice, so I'll be very curious to see how tomorrow's game goes, because I do not think they will be taking the Sharks nearly as lightly as they did the first time. And I'm sure they will come in with a good game plan, hopefully to shut down Celebrini. So don't be surprised if you see Cale Makar on the ice every time Macklin Celebrini is on the ice too. That would not
Well,
surprise me one bit.
and regardless, what a scoring a lot in like the first 2 minutes of the first period. But the Sharks have been scoring a lot of early first period goals too. So
Yes.
I think it's going to be interesting to see who gets the first goal and when, because
Yeah.
despite all the stellar goaltending all around, the early momentum will be decided in that first couple of minutes because both of these teams have been really lights out coming out of the gates.
Well, here's where, unfortunately for you, where I think the difference might be. I need to remember how to fucking figure out how to pull this up. Here's the period by period breakdown. All right. So the Avalanche have scored in the third period, especially 108 goals to their opponent's 82. So to say that the Avalanche are very good at putting a game away in the third period. Oh, wait, sorry. This was last season. Let me get to this season. Oh, sorry. It's worse. The Avalanche have scored. I was like, that's way too many goals. Have scored 34 goals to their opponent's 9 in the third. Whereas, God bless San Jose. Let's take a look-see here. Situational. San Jose in the third have scored 16 to their opponent's 25. But you guys are the best in the first, so you're right. A lot could be determined how the first goes here, and then can you close it out at the end? That's the toughest thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting dynamics, and I'm with you. I think if the Sharks can win, it would be monumental. I'll say of an upset, because I agree. I don't think the Avalanche will let lightning strike twice. They're also at home this time.
I feel
so-
bad. I'm not trying to put you down. Oh my gosh. I feel so mean. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Listen, my team is even in this game. You got to remember, I've gone for my birthday for like 3 straight years and watched my team just get beat up like they're the unliked kid on the playground who's getting bullied and is just off alone in a corner getting his ass kicked. But that's what it was like. So a competitive game, even if we lose, the fact that it's a conversation, the fact that we still got one over you, that is a win in and of itself this year. The best team in the league, and the Sharks can claim a win.
Yeah, you stole our damn point, fuckers.
Well, actually, that's funny too, because the Sharks are one of the best teams in extra hockey this year.
Yeah.
They have 6 wins, tied with the Flyers for the most wins outside of regulation this year. They're 1-1 in a shootout, and they have 5 other overtime wins, and including the one over the Avalanche. So if the first period goes well for the Sharks and they get a lead and they hold on just barely and white knuckle it through, survive the third, get to overtime, you never know. I think it's going to be exciting, those shifting dynamics. And you guys might win and outscore us by like 3 goals. It's very possible.
And
But,
I mean, that's
me. I'm going to be the optimist.
of course. And I mean, again, that's not even because I think Askarov would be playing poorly by any stretch of the imagination. The Avalanche just score a lot of goals. This is kind of their thing. That's kind of what they do. But Dom, since we are talking about the Sharks, for some reason, I can only recall the Sharks playing the Bruins this week, and I do remember how that game went, but any other recollection of the Sharks playing hockey this week has seemingly left my conscious and subconscious mind. Therefore, this week, it is up to you to not only inform and analyze for the fans what the Sharks did this week, but to restore the memories I have lost due to some strange form of hockey amnesia. Good luck. We're all counting on you. It's time for In the Tank with Dom.
Thanks, Corey. And yes, I have reclaimed the tank after your brief stint
Yes.
in there for me as the next man up mentality of the Captain Avalanche Fancast, our version of it at least. So thank you for doing that again last week, brother. But yes, so the Sharks have been on a 4-game homestand. Going back to last week, the final game I talked about was the victory over the Utah Mammoth. And moving right along, actually, Corey, did you know the Sharks have played 3 games in 4 days and actually 4 games in a stretch of 6 days?
See, who are these schedule makers? Because the Avalanche for 3 weeks in a row are going to do 4 games in 3 days. We're doing it again this week. We play tomorrow and then Friday, Saturday. Who are these schedule makers? And then you guys are getting cocked all the same, even if you are at home. We're having to travel and then come back home. What is this shit?
I honestly don't know why it's happening, but and it's only going to get worse as the season gets longer.
Seriously.
And part of it, to be fair, this season, part of it is because of the Olympic break.
Yeah, you're right.
2 weeks, you'd space out a few more games in there and have less back-to-backs. That's why the Sharks have 16 back-to-backs this year. That is insane. But regardless, after hosting the Utah Mammoth in that victory, the Sharks this week hosted the hated rival Los Angeles Kings from Southern California. Before then, a back-to-back against the Ottawa Coin Flips and the Boston Bruins. And if you're sick of the coin flips, tell me in the comments, because until someone tells me not to, I'm going to keep calling Ottawa that. But yeah, it's been a lot of games. I'm glad that they've had nights off for Monday, Tuesday, and so there's a chance Askarov will play, but Askarov played the second half of that back-to-back against Boston. So I am concerned that we might have Ned in net. And he could surprise me, but it's not Askarov in November, which is what I want to see. What we all want to see, because it's just better. It just is. Corey, you wouldn't love it because it would make it harder for the Avs to score, but at the same time, you would just enjoy watching it with your own eyes and appreciate his wizardry out there, if that makes sense.
No, I would not. I would be mad as hell. But sure, Dom, I'll appreciate his wizardry.
Well, also, one thing I meant to say before we went in the tank, the one thing the Sharks didn't have this week is, unfortunately, they were unable to paint my reindeer and call me a goblin. But apparently, that's a thing Avs fans can do, or at least the commentator can. Can we just take a minute, Corey? What was happening? Do you even know what happened there? Did somebody have like an aneurysm?
No. So I do know some additional context. I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that essentially it was a situation where either one of the other Avs commentators dared Mark Mosier to say that, or I believe it was another commentator's daughter who asked him to say that. So either way, Mark Mosier was put up to saying something ridiculous like that if the Avalanche scored, which hell, they almost didn't. So that was the situation in that case.
Well, it was really funny no matter what. It got my attention that I ended up watching the reel like 3 times, and I'm like, well, that actually was effective in keeping my attention here. But if it was also like quoting a kid or something a kid said, then that makes it all the more wholesome and funny. So I'm just going to go with that in my head, but needed to say that before I forgot, because I thought it was so out of pocket, but also funny at the same time. But actually into the tank for Sharks games, and all these games were played in the tank, of course, like I said. So let's go rewind back to last Thursday, a shootout against the LA Kings. But before it was a shootout, we had to have a game. And before it was a game, we had to honor the Jumbo Joe Thornton for his Hockey Hall of Fame induction. There was a celebration before the game. He was on the ice with his family for the ceremonial puck drop, which of course featured Macklin Celebrini, his old, like, is Ward the right word? Because it's not like Ward of the state, but he was literally living with him.
Yeah, you're good. All right.
And then Anze Kopitar, who he had only nice things to say about because they've played against each other for a very long time. So there could be some rivalry there, but it was all respect with the Kings captain out there. But really cool to see. Always love having Jumbo in the building. He was actually in the booth with the commentators for part of the game as well during the second period, talking some pucks. So really always a treat to get to hear Jumbo, see him out there smiling with the big old mountain beard and there with his family. So just a true shark for life, as with the rest of the family. So wanted to mention that as like a nice little tying, closing up the book after having his jersey retired in the tank, having that Hockey Hall of Fame induction, dropping the puck here and actually doing that final celebration feels like the last part of that chapter, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it makes sense. And I mean, I always like it when an alumni member of a team or the owner gets to step up in the booth for a little bit and just talk some history, talk their career. That's always really cool. So that's awesome. I'm sad I missed that one.
Yeah, and I bet I could still find it with some of the highlights, but when he's talking from a different perspective, some of the different coaches he's had, I always just like hearing that player perspective. I think it's really, really great for any hockey fan to hear because it's often different than any of us in the media can say because we're that fan cast. We're not in the locker room like we talk about. So this is all our opinions and our perspectives, but it's never that same thing compared to when you're on the ice and have lived it. So always great to hear from guys like that, especially just class acts like Joe. The other great thing from this game, and good things happen when the Sharks wear the Heritage 2.0 jerseys. And they wore them because Jumbo wore them, and they looked sick once again. I need one. I need one. They don't have the MacLeod Celebrity in my size. As soon as it is back in stock, I don't care how expensive it is. I'm buying it. But can they just be our primary sweaters again, please? Like, I don't know who I have to ask or beg, but I'll go out on a limb and I will speak for all Sharks fans and shout out CP or anyone else I know from back in California who are listening. Tell me I'm wrong and you don't want the old ones back. Please reach out to me. But otherwise, I want the old ones back. It looks so cool and so clean. I think if you need to put a new twist on them and use the modern logo in the center rather than the old one, fine. I don't need to split hairs over it. I understand the differences. I like them both. That's not the sticking point for me. It's the color scheme. It is the pattern of the black and gray on the sleeves that just, I don't know, makes them look faster, makes them look meaner, makes it just in motion at game speed. I don't know. I just think it's so much better than these blocky rectangles at the elbow that are going around the arm, like having these streaks going up and down with like these triangular shapes in there as well that remind me of shark teeth. It's I'm gonna keep raving about them, Corey. So please say something good about these jerseys, and I'll move on.
I like him. I don't know if I like him because there's very few Sharks jerseys I don't like. I don't know if I'm as big of a fan of like the gray. I definitely prefer the black ones. And I mean, I'm a big fan of the all teal ones. I know you kind of had some different thoughts on them earlier, but I mean, I don't hate them. I think they still look cool. And I definitely like that older Sharks logo as well.
Oh yeah, I think there's a nostalgia aspect too, and that's why I like the older Sharks logo. And I'm trying to pre-negotiate here because right, the all teal is such a wonderful color. It's beautiful out there. So many teams have the all one color. I kind of liked the contrast or the mix of
For sure.
colors. It it I don't know. It tickles my brain in the right way where it's just like that make me happy. And again, it could just be the nostalgia of watching them go to playoffs and win games wearing those jerseys with all of my favorite players from when I was a kid. So totally acknowledge there's some homerism in there, but I want to see them as often as I can, especially since the Sharks have won both times they've worn them this season. So good things happen when they wear those jerseys. So wear them more often. But anyways, actually on to the game because I've spent enough time on anything but the actual game hockey that happened. And so anyway, in the first period, the Sharks actually started well, and it was the third line that was able to net an early goal off of a neutral zone turnover. Ty Dellandrea picking up that loose puck, setting up the play, and dropping it back to Adam Gaudette, who it looked like a little bit of a toe drag, just the way he was slowing down and adjusting the angle on his stick to get that wrist shot home. But really, really beautiful shot. A lot of snap on that one. Early goal in the third line was definitely the line to highlight in this game with Graf, Gaudette, and Dellandrea. They've been playing really well for a third line, and they don't always show up on the stat sheet. And we've talked about the score with that third line and fourth line. They might not always have points, but their presence has been felt. They've been skating very quickly in their limited opportunities all week and winning battles, races to get to a puck. So this first period was no difference, and this was a good odd man rush. This was the one we wanted when we were able to get a bit of a 3-on-2, even though it didn't really matter. It still technically was an odd man rush. But there were others in the period that actually had going both ways. And ultimately, I think the Kings actually played better for a good chunk of this first period. And maybe the second period too, now that I'm thinking about it. There was a very like frantic pace of play to the first period, I feel like, and the Kings were actually getting their shots on net. The Sharks' shots weren't reaching. So it was pretty balanced, just back and forth, up and down the ice. But the Kings getting more registered chances. But ultimately, as we got late into the period, the Sharks had settled in a bit more and started to control a bit more of the possession and the shot opportunities, bring that back to about level on the board. And they actually had a power play at about 4 minutes to go. And it was Joel Armia for the Kings. It was this zone entry or kind of like a zone hold when the Sharks were in the middle of a change. And so Celebrini was kind of caught out on an island and just got bull rushed by Armia. And so when Celebrini tried to spin out of it and do a drop pass to, I want to say it was Klingberg, it didn't go well. Armia was able to win that puck, and he actually won the race to get in alone on Askarov. So I didn't know Armia had those jets that he could outrace Celebrini, but apparently he can when the time calls. So the Sharks did unfortunately give up a shorthanded goal there to tie up the game. So the two stars of the Sharks that I'm always hyping up, Celebrini and Askarov, are the two players I can only fault for that. I mean, obviously it happened during a change, so there's some bad luck and timing there. But I don't know. Celebrini just kind of left the puck there for the taking, even though he was trying to make something happen. And Askarov is the best penalty killer, right? Or, I mean, even if you're on the power play, he still needs to be able to make those saves. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on them in this moment, Corey.
Nope. I think you're being just the right amount of hard, if not hard enough.
Well, then, I guess I'll have to come back and scold them both for something later. That might be hard to do.
Scold them tomorrow.
But, I hope not. But back to the Sharks' third line, because again, they were playing really, really well. And it was, apparently they don't like just starting periods well, but also finishing them too, at least if it's the first period. And they moved well in transition. It was actually Colin Graf who was able to, again, just picking up a puck off a neutral zone turnover and start driving in to the zone, driving at the net. He ended up circling behind. It was completely uncovered, and was able to, I don't know if it was a pass or if it was more of like a shot that then went off of Dellandrea and in. Either way, Dellandrea gets credited with the goal. The angle was kind of tough to tell on the feed, so I don't know exactly if it redirected off a stick or off of his body, but either way, I give credit for the goal to Colin Graf in his setup, his effort, his driving the net, his finding the pass, really doing everything but getting credit for the actual goal, since that was given to Dellandrea. Either way, both players being in the right place at the right time. Moving forward to the second, the Sharks did still have some defensive lapses in this game, similar to the first period, so bad scolding. Kopitar was actually able to get in on Askarov alone ahead of the defense, and silky hands, old got it because he was able to move Askey from side to side and open up the 5-hole and just lightly tap it in. And it was just like, bro took Askarov's lunch money. So here is your scolding of Askarov. Like, great game overall, has been really incredible in the month of November. Kopitar got him moving and got his stick and his pad just off the ice enough that there was a gap there, and he didn't miss. So those ones always hurt when you see those 5-hole ones that aren't, it just was a faster shot and the goalie dropped the pads. It's like, no, the 5-hole was closed and then it wasn't. And in that small window, he capitalized. And by the way, he created the window. So absolute, I got to respect it. Game recognized game. That is a good play, a veteran play by Kopitar. And I hope Askarov took it as a learning experience and we'll continue to see better from him in the future.
Come on, Dom. Get mad. Get angry. Yell into the microphone. Grr. I'm kidding.
But he has a .957 save percentage in the month of November.
You're right.
It is 6-1. And he's just giving me hope. And they won this game. So I can't fault him. The result went the right way in the end, even if I can be critiquing these things in the moment as I go through. Unfortunately, actually, the Kings did score another goal later in the period, actually during that period of time when Jumbo was in the booth commentating, and he was just like, oh, yep, you could feel something was going to happen. It just went for the wrong way. Like, because the said it had a good series of momentum there and got caught in transition the wrong way. So moral of the story is the Sharks either score or give up a lot of goals in transition if it's not Macklin Celebrini creating the play. That's basically it, Corey, from what you said earlier. Either he is the engine and he's going choo-choo and making things happen, or it's a transition score is really what it's come down to, or I guess a power play. But again, Macklin's typically out there on the power play for both units.
Carry on.
However, sorry, I forgot this part.
Uh-oh.
That goal that was scored while Thornton was in the booth actually called off due to an offsides. So the game remained tied at 2. My little action got you going there, and then I just ripped it back away.
I know.
So that was good for the Sharks.
Got me on a roller coaster
but
here.
The top line, the roller coaster can be interesting and can be a lot of fun. And ADHD, welcome to my life. But the top line, Celebrini, we've been talking about him a bit, right? He actually finally got on the scoreboard late in the second period. It was actually Kurashev with a very patient goal, waiting for the defender to move and clear some space. And all for the Kings that night to get a similar 5-hole goal to what Kopitar had done, just from further away, so not right in front of net. So that was super sweet. And really, the third period, we know what happens. The Sharks play a little bit more defense. They still had some really good chances, some counter punches, but it felt sketchy. Askarov was keeping him just going, keeping everything out of his net, yada, yada, yada. The same old story. Oh, and part of that same old story, less than a minute remaining. Of course, because why not? Adrian Kempe's going to score to tie up the game with less than a minute to go in the third and just make my soul ache and just stress levels just shoot up through the roof as I'm like, it's late. This game's on the West Coast. I need to go to bed. It's a Thursday. And of course, overtime. And Corey, I don't know if you saw time, but it's like the exact reason why I hate 3-on-3 hockey, because, and even though my team dominated it, we won the opening faceoff, controlled possession for at least 4 out of 5 minutes of overtime. We just were in the zone. It was like zone entry, maybe 1 or 2 passes. Nothing's working and the defense is closing out. Let's backtrack. It was just a lot of possession and skating around, going forwards a tiny bit, going backwards, not even really getting into the offensive zone at all. There were 2 quality chances, and I think there were only 2 shots on goal the entire overtime period. Both went to the Sharks. One was off of a change when Tivoli was able to get in, and his was saved. And the other one was a Macklin creativity thing that was saved. But for the most part, nothing was happening. It was just can we just skip to the shootout already? And again, my team had the puck. We had the chance to have the better chances, and we just couldn't get set up in the offensive zone. So that was frustrating. But we went to a shootout. And I already spoiled the answer at the top. So the Sharks won. Woo! And it's because, and this is why I can forgive everything else that went wrong, it's because of Askarov. He did not allow a single shot to get past him during that shootout, including the last one from Corey Perry, which looked dangerous, but he said no, got up and was just punching the sky with his like goal stick in hand. It's a super sweet picture. You've probably seen it out there on the internet if you've spent 5 minutes looking for it. And the other real hero of the game, I'm going to say it's Philip Kurashev, because not only did he score the goal in the third period, that was obviously critical and necessary to go to overtime, but when he was thrown out there first in the shootout, the Sharks went first in the shootout. Kurashev went up there and put his shot home, and he was the only one to score for either team during the entire shootout. So doesn't count as a goal, but he effectively had 2 goals in this game and was a huge part, instrumental in the Sharks beating the Kings. And what is another close match compared to their previous one not too long ago that I talked about.
What?
Rolling right along.
Oh, I was like,
oh wait, did you have something to say?
No, it felt like there should have been something that I had to say, but I was just like, I don't know how to follow that up. So no, you're keep rolling.
All right, so we'll skip forward to the first half of the back-to-back on Saturday the 22nd when the Ottawa coin flips. Okay, fine, I'll call them the Senators. Came to town.
No one told you not to. I just checked our comments. There's nobody telling you not to. You keep it going.
Rewind. Okay, put the rewind sound here in post. And the Ottawa coin flips came to town on Saturday night.
I want you to know that I'm going to use the zoom instead. I'm not putting the actual rewind. I'm putting the zoom.
Okay, sounds good. The Sharks opened the scoring early in the first once again. This time it was a nice play from Celebrini and Smith. Or at least it would have been nice if this time it wasn't called back for offsides against the Sharks. See there, Corey, I'm getting mad. I'm getting sad. I'm getting angry at the refs because refs suck. No, they're doing their job, and it's very important, and we talk about that in our intro episode to start this season. So go listen to that if you haven't already. But in the grand scheme of things, all in all, I think it's all fair. The Sharks were the beneficiaries of something similar against the Kings, and it really would have been a turning point if the Kings had a 3-2 lead instead of the Sharks being able to have that lead, right? Playing with the lead in the third period is much better for the Sharks than playing behind, even if it gives me so much anxiety. They are better when they have a margin for error and can get to extra time than when they're playing from behind. It just is. So very frustrating, especially to have that early momentum washed away against a really good physical team. But all in all, they got 1 for, 1 against. It all comes out net even, right? And even with the momentum a little bit tarnished, the Sharks did continue to push and even hit the crossbar a couple minutes later on one of their next shots in the period. But ultimately, it was Ottawa that opened the scoring in the first period on a power play goal. And I mentioned this one, or I'm just talking about this, lamenting it, because this one pissed me right off. Not because of how the goal is scored on a power play, or it's the issue is that the Senators had the coin flips had a fucking power play in the first place, because Jake fucking Sanderson just comes in hot when Kurashev's in the offensive zone and boards him heavily down to the ground. Thankfully, Kurashev's okay. No call with the ref staring right at them. So, you know what? If it was a clean hit, fine. Maybe I'm biased, fine. Whatever. For me, it was dirty. I was pissed off. And then Kurashev didn't even really do anything to him. He just kind of gave him like a little shove. There weren't any gloves off. There wasn't a full fight. They were just talking. But that the ref whistles and gives a 2-minute roughing call against Kurashev. Nothing against Sanderson for the hit or his part of after the hit. So fucking stupid. And sorry, I needed to have water there for a second.
He's
This
so
was the main
mad he's
point of the game for
dehydrating
me.
himself.
Exactly. That is how mad I am. The steam is coming out of my ears from all the water that's left in my body. This was the main point of the game, though, was it was incredibly physical out there. It was a super physical game. And when you think of Ottawa, maybe this is what you think of, maybe it's not. I think of the fact that Ottawa has a Kachuk. So I expect them as a team to have some degree of physicality, right? And there were just multiple really big hits from Ottawa in the game, including an even worse one that thankfully was called. It was called as a charging that was assessed when Mario Ferraro got crunched into the boards. And thankfully, he was okay as well. Like, I thought at first it was his head hitting like the little lip, that border where there's that difference between where the boards end and the glass starts. So I was very concerned. It actually looked like it was more of a wrist hand injury where it got pinched for Mario. This time the refs got the call right and sent Hayden fucking Hodgson to the box for charge Mario. And on the ensuing power play, the Sharks did make the mistake costly for the coin flips as Klingberg was able to pick the top corner through a screen and fire it home. Good to see Klingberg actually score a goal because he's had a little bit of some struggles actually getting those goals in at least. But at the time, Mario had gone straight back to the dressing room. He did thankfully return later in the game. And in fact, in the second period, he was able to jump into the play on an odd man rush that resulted in a Barclay Goodrow goal that gave the Sharks a 2-1 lead. So it was kind of like what you had described earlier, Corey, like a pass off the pads where Mario jumped into the rush and shot it off the pads. And then it actually technically went off Wenberg's stick before Goodrow put it home. But either way, glad to see him okay and back out there. I was actually very concerned when the initial hit happened, like I said, and able to get a point off of that too. And not only did the Sharks punish the coin flips on the scoreboard, Ryan Reeves had been hunting, trying to find Hodgson for that hit on Mario for about half a period, and he finally got his opportunity. About 9 minutes, 10 minutes left in the second, so right around the midpoint of the second period, he was able to get his fight in against Hodgson because why have a Revo if you're not going to have him fight when your players get crunched. And that was, other than scoring points on the board, that was probably the best or closest the Sharks had to a response to the physicality in the game. The Ottawa certainly dominated the pressure and possession in the second period. Even if the hit count wasn't like astronomically different, they definitely were far more physical out there. It felt like the Sharks tried at points to match the physicality, but they were a little caught off guard by it, which they shouldn't have been. Like, Ottawa is known as two things, being very physical and very good in the faceoff circle, and both of those things showed in this game. And yes, Reeves fought back, but there wasn't nearly enough of a response to that bully style of hockey that Ottawa wanted to play. So the Sharks kind of let them get into their game, which also takes away from the Sharks' flashier game where they need time and space to operate. If you're going to let Ottawa smother you, it's not going to be the most successful offensive night. And it wasn't. And late in the second, after that momentum, it was former Shark Fabian Zetterlund who was able to tie up the game at 2 goals apiece going into the second intermission. Yeah, you could tell he definitely wanted to score one and get his revenge goal. Although, super cool story when he was asked about in the interviews leading up to the game, like the day before, he was asked what was the thing he missed most about San Jose and his favorite part, and he said one word: Eklund. And so it just made me think of how close Macklin and Will Smith are. And realistically, before that, it was Zetterlund and Eklund that were super tight and close. They just weren't first overall draft picks who were rookies at the same time and who came into the league and just I think the difference is that the Celebrini Smith connection and friendship has been so available, so widely available on the internet, so obvious and out front. But the friendship and bond with Eklund and Zetterlund was similar, if not stronger, and obviously came before since they had both been in the league sooner. So just made me think that even if the production and it wasn't the right thing for Zetterlund to be with the Sharks long term, it did make me think about that moment and how that story, how lucky I am as a fan and as all Sharks fans, and even for Macklin and Will that they are able to play together because nothing's guaranteed in this league. So just feelings of gratitude seeing how what could have been or what was and what is in those two different situations.
I have to say, man, first and foremost, going all the way back to Revo, it was really funny when he had an interview earlier. I think it might have been with like Spit and Chicklets or something. And he was like, when I was traded to San Jose, I knew why I was there. But it's nice that he's getting some points here and there. But I mean, yeah, Revo's going to beat ass. That's why he's there. And also apparently have another bromance with Macklin Celebrini, quickly making a love triangle between him and Will Smith. So who knows what's happening. In terms of Fabian Zetterlund, that to me, Mike Greer's made a lot of great moves. That's been his biggest L. I don't think that was a good trade. Looking back on it now, especially, I think Zetterlund would have been better off staying in San Jose. Really would have rounded out that top six, with obviously Eklund and everything. So I think he should have kept Zetterlund. I didn't think that was a very good trade, especially in retrospect now, but can't change it now.
Yeah, and in retrospect, the second line has been a lot of Eklund, Wenberg, and Toffoli has been a little cold. He's not been his best goal scoring self in recent games. It's a bit of a lull. He needs to get his game going again. So maybe Zetterlund could step in. I think the issue is Zetterlund was being viewed more as a third line guy on a contender. And if the Sharks wanted to be a contender, I think Greer was trying to treat him that way, even though right now he could still be a second line guy. And I think for Ottawa, he's playing on the third or the fourth line even. So his goal scoring is down in Ottawa, and I agree he would have had a much better opportunity in San Jose. But we can't lament what is or would will be. The trade hasn't fully played out with the other picks that were gotten. The player Zach Ostapchuk was playing in this game as well. It's a big fourth line. If you have Goodrow out there with Reeves and Ostapchuk, and you throw out Orlov or Desharnais on defense, one of those guys, you suddenly have like three of the biggest guys or the three biggest guys on the ice at the same time, and the Sharks can play bully ball themselves and get physical with it. So I do like that we have that option now, that we can roll out a line that's just like, hey, we're not here to play hockey. We're here to fuck up your day. And that's what this line is about. And so for the next 45 seconds, we're going to make you utterly miserable and make this game ugly. And that, I think, is something that the Sharks definitely needed when they went to go get Revo, when they made this trade for a step check and other things like that. They needed some size, some enforcers, it basically, to help protect guys like Macklin Celebrini and help enable them to be creative, because if you go hit one of these guys, somebody bigger is going to come back and hunt for your head.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Finishing up, rounding out this game, though, I've talked through two periods, and third period hockey, the Sharks were better than other third periods, I want to say. Let me get the exact stats, because they were outshot 20-13 after two, and after three, it was still about even 27-19, so a little back and forth. Part of the difficulty in this game was across the game, they only had a 39% faceoff percentage, which the Sharks are below average. They're not like wildly below average in faceoffs, but the Senators, I think, are statistically, the coin flips are statistically the best team in the faceoff circle this year. So it's not surprising, but it makes it difficult to come back in the third period if you can't win the puck. Having any defensive zone faceoffs that lead to icings, that lead to more defensive zone faceoffs, it's just clock runs down. Or if you're in the O zone, get a faceoff and then are forced backwards. They did finish with more hits than Ottawa in the game, which was surprising. I felt like Ottawa hit a lot more than they were credited for. Both teams finished 1 for 5 on the power play with 15 total penalty minutes. So, all in all, a pretty balanced game, even if just at periods. I think the Sharks felt like they were never out of it, but they were a JV team that had a lot of potential, a lot of those future stars, but they were still too small or just not there yet and getting pushed around by the varsity team. That's what it felt like. And they're a young team. This will get better over time. And they were actually much more physically prepared against Boston the next night, which was somehow even more physical of a game. But to wrap out the third period, it was Tim Stutzla who he got credit for the game winner, and this one sucked. It sucked. Askarov flashes the left pad as he's sliding to the right, makes the save, but he's sprawled out, basically wide open net. Klingberg goes in trying to clear it, and he just whiffs. And all Sitzla has to do is just poke it like 3 inches across the line. It was just sitting there in the blue paint, like right on the goal line for what felt like forever. And it's agonizing. There's less than 7 minutes left in the game, and you just see the puck sitting there, hopeless, like you know what's about to happen and can't stop it, and you're just like, no. Yeah. So that hurt. Not hurt me, but it hurt to see. It's just like, damn, if only that didn't happen and maybe we go to overtime. Maybe the Sharks get a point. Maybe because they've been so good in overtime, they get a win and go perfect on this homestand. But all those what ifs did not materialize. And I guess the other big finding from this game is the first start, or the only start I mentioned this week for Alex Nedeljkovic, and he was okay. 3 goals allowed on 27 shots faced is not great, but it is not terrible. It is okay. Um, it's what you expect from a backup goaltender, I guess. And rather than some of his other performances that have been similar to Askarov and really playing out of his gourd, as you like to say, Corey, this was very much an earthly, regular, ordinary backup goaltender performance.
Well, they can't be absolutely incredible every day.
Well, they can if it's Askarov, because I'm going to jump into the Boston game the next night. And I said it before, third game in 4 nights, fourth game in 6 nights, back half of an incredibly physical back-to-back. Even more hits in this game than the night before against Ottawa. And the Sharks still won to make it 3 wins out of 4 games on the homestand, and quite possibly their most complete game of the season thus far for that win. And a win in regulation, which is always great to see against a really good team, back half of the back-to-back, all the things I said. I mean, this Boston team has been resurgent. They did not look overmatched at any point against Boston the way they had when I was talking about some of that physicality against Ottawa. It was a complete 180. That response that was sometimes missing from the night before, the Sharks took that to heart, and they took all that frustration, channeled it, and took it out on Boston. And that was really great to see. I mean, multiple defensemen also, not just the physicality, but defensemen getting up into the play, logging points on the night. The Sharks D-man with the best name in all of hockey, Corey. You know his name. You know you want to say it, so here.
Oh, yeah!
Yep, the best name out there. He actually scored his first goal of the season to put the Sharks up 1-0 in the first period. Another first period lead for the Sharks. This is a good pattern. Let's keep it up with this pattern.
Can I just say that I ended up accidentally watching the Boston feed, and it's painful listening to and it's not just them, but it was just painful listening to other announcers say Shakir Moukmadoulin's name. It's Moukmadoullin, not Moukha Madulin. Moukmadoullin.
Yeah, I'd have to double check because I've seen multiple announcers say that, and now it's making me question.
No,
But
I
I
think
think
it's
it's just
Moukmadoullin.
Moukmadoullin. But Either way, congratulations, Shakir, with his first goal of the season. He's been showing up at good points after he missed some time with that injury early in the year. And he's definitely got some points off assists, but great to see him actually get his goal because it's not the biggest part of his game, but when he steps up into the slot, he has a very powerful shot. So it's something I think if we can activate or take advantage of more, it'll help in cycles in the future if we have a defenseman like that who can fire off a powerful shot. Similar to Sam Dickinson, but maybe more of your stay-at-home defenseman who does that less regularly than what Sam Dickinson projects to do. But anyway, after taking that lead, the Sharks never looked back, nor did they trail on the scoreboard at any point in this game. Once again, Macklin Celebrini drove the offensive success. He was the choo-choo train, and Yaroslav Askarov was immaculate in net. A goal and an assist for Celebrini. The goal was on a power play in the second. A bunch of saves from Askey. 34 of 35 shots faced, to be exact, including an ungodly robbery to get across left to right, flash the glove. He didn't even catch it in his glove, just got enough of the puck to save a shot on what would have been like a wide open net for David Pastrnak. Did you see this save that he made on Pasta?
Right, I did. Yeah, he was getting right to left really fast during this game, so I have to commend him for that.
And so it's just the heroics. I find it hard to talk about this game because it was such a tight game. It was a very hard checking game. Not a lot of goals scored in the game. So it comes down to when Macklin was creating and Askarov was making those big saves. And I think the other highlight moment, my favorite moment of this great game, is in the second period when Dmitry Orlov, with the most classic hip check of all hip checks. I don't even remember the poor soul for Boston who went flying head over heels when he got hit completely clean. We've talked about Orlov walking the line at that point this season. This is as clean a hip check as it gets, and it hurts when you go flying and falling down. We need to link that one in the description because it was, out of everything from the past week, that was my favorite moment of all of it.
Link.
I think you were saying something
massive hit. No, I was just saying I saw the hit. It was a crispy hit.
I did enjoy. So I guess since I'm not diving fully in depth with the Boston one, I want to be mindful of time. And like I said, I feel like I'd be repeating myself somewhat. The summary was the Sharks ended up going up 2-0 after one. 1-0 after one. They were up 2-0 in the second period. The Bruins did eventually score in the third to steal another shutout bid from Askarov. Like the only thing Askarov has not done this season, with all of the superlatives, everything in November, he still doesn't have a shutout in his career, technically, but not this year. So I just want him to get a shutout. And I know it's not going to come to in this game against Colorado. There's just no way he shuts you guys out. Not a chance in my mind that happens. But I really, really want him to get that first shutout because he certainly played well enough to deserve multiple. But anyway, Boston did score in the third, make it a little bit more nervy there. But we go into 6-on-5 hockey for Boston, that is, with 6. And the Sharks, and actually Will Eklund once again gets a chance at the empty net, and it goes off the post and bounces off the end wall. And thankfully, Colin Graf got to the puck. He got the puck on his stick, was like below the dot. Like we're talking in Draisaitl's office, if not even closer to the end line. Fires just while turning a sharp angle shot. So the Sharks did not have another missed empty netter come to haunt them. They got the empty netter eventually, and I was able to rest easy on Sunday night after that.
I have to say, though, I did watch I watched the whole game, but I really paid attention during the last 10 minutes. You guys made it really hard for yourselves to win. Like, I have to say, It was kind of a tough watch. And of course, Morgan Geeky, of all people, had to score and continue to be tied for the league in goals with Nathan McKinnon. What is going on with Morgan Geeky? But I think you guys just really had a hard time shutting Boston down for the remainder of that game. But I mean, hey, you still shut them down enough because they didn't get another one after that. So I'm being a little critical, but I mean, like, it just looked very challenging for the Sharks to actually close out the game. But thankfully, you guys did. And that's all I'll really say on that.
Yeah, and it's a good point. It goes back to why the Sharks struggle in the third period is the aggression goes down. They do become very focused on defense and on not losing the game instead of going out there and winning it. The willingness to gamble goes down, and so it's where I talk about turtle mode. They are focused on creating a strong shell, a defensive posture, be in the right spots, and they'll sacrifice opportunities on the offensive end to make sure they get fresh legs out there and can keep a stable defense going, which that's not perfect. And their changes haven't always been great. And that's left gaps there too. So there's no exact right answer. I do think this week overall, like against LA and against Boston here, I liked that their counter punch, like it was there. It wasn't completely non-existent. And when they had those chances, they were quality ones. It wasn't just like a half-assed chance. But I agree. They need to spend less time skating backwards with a 1-goal or a 2-goal lead in the third period because it does seem to come back to bite them.
But hey, we'll take the win though.
Yeah, and I guess if I have one other critique from the Sharks in the past week while we're doing this, 2 for 14 on the power play is just not good enough. And that's in the past 3 games, of course.
Fuck, dude,
that is
tell me about
much
it.
less efficient. Yeah, much less efficient than we'd like to see. They've just been struggling with getting the puck into the zone and then putting sustained pressure. It's clearing so fast. They aren't able to get a cycle. Obviously, they gave up that shorthanded goal against LA. And in this game against Boston, I didn't feel like mentioning it with it and then proceeded to give Boston their own power play in the last like 5 seconds of what was left over of that. So it just was frustrating. They went like 1 for 6 in that game against Boston alone. Like Boston was just waltzing over to the penalty box, making it a little bit easier in the second. And that's where the Sharks were able to keep pouring on that momentum before the third when Boston got theirs back. But power play, I don't know what it needs exactly, but they need to get in the zone, get it deep enough for somebody going behind the net, even if they hold the puck, and so that then the defense pulls back its shell, and then you can start to set up top. Because to set up top when there's still defenders in close, it's just leading to those turnovers, those rush chances the other way, or even just zone clears. And so you're just wasting time at that point. But overall, again, 3 wins in their last 4 games on that homestand, 2 wins in the past week, and the third one was only a 1-goal loss with the backup goaltender in net. So all in all, a really great week. There's been some shuffling in the top 6. Celebrini, Smith, and Kurashev has been our running top line, while Toffoli's been in that bit of a funk, and that's actually been a pretty good on the season. I'm pretty sure as a line, they are +8 in 5-on-5 scenarios this year. So with Kurashev's performances, he's looking like he's probably a better fit, also just age-wise in the longer term, as that third piece on the top line with Celebrini and Smith. But fear not, we still sometimes get the sleepover line, and also had Eklund play up on the top line with MacLeod and Will Smith. So Warsofsky's trying all the combinations out there, trying to figure out what works best in his top 6, now that at least the top 6 has been more hammered out, and we have a stable third line pretty consistently. There's a rotation. It's not always the exact same, but you can expect Graf, Delandria, Gaudette, at least 2 out of those 3 to be playing every night, depending on who's in the starting lineup and who's on the 4th line. But finally, to your Sharks 3 players of the week, let's go with an honorable mention for Colin Graf. 2 assists in the game versus LA, the empty netter versus Boston to ice the game there. He, once again, has a good week, keeps playing well on the penalty kill, strong defensively. the stable third line guy the Sharks need. So I'm really, really pleased with Graf as always. But at number 3, I will give it to Philip Kurashev, who's done well with his time on the top line. He got that goal and the shootout winner, which were both critical in that win against LA. So I want to be sure to give him credit there. After ranking Macklin and Yaroslav at 1 and 2 last week, I decided to switch them this week. So I have Macklin at 2, 4 points in the past 3 games. So still doing Macklin things. However, only 1 goal. Yes, only 1 goal in that stretch.
How dare he?
And I just feel like, what was that?
I said, how dare he? Only 1.
I know.
Pick it up, Macklin. Just kidding. Don't. We're playing you tomorrow. Don't do anything.
After that hat trick against Utah, you can only do 1. I expect more results in this game against Colorado.
No!
But no, I'm just here causing you stress. I don't want to do that. At the number 1 star of the week, I know last week you were right in his hat trick, and Macklin deserved to be number 1 star. This week, I'm giving it to Askarov with those big saves on Pasta. I mean, 34 saves on 35 shots. The guy's at 957 for the month of November, like I've been saying. Even though he gave up a 3rd goal for the first time all month against the Kings, I really didn't necessarily feel like all of them were his fault. Yes, sometimes he got beaten, but he's still been playing really well. He still had an over 900 save percentage with over 30 saves that night as well. So I think he needs to be our number 1 star this week.
Very good. Well, thank you for your time in the tank this week, Dom. Now, everybody, we have time for one more little section here before we give you your typical closeout here. And if I didn't say it, Dom threatened and said he was going to say it. So, therefore, we must ask ourselves, has Mikko Rantanen become a villain in the NHL? Now, I know, I'm being incredibly hypocritical by talking about the guy that I just really want everyone to forget he was ever associated with the Avalanche. However, so many people online are reaching out to the Avalanche fan base to ask, was Mikko like this in Colorado? Which means we absolutely have to discuss this because it's relevant to the Avalanche. And if it's relevant to the Avalanche, then it is relevant to the Captain Avalanche Fancast. To summarize, in case you've missed it, Mikko Rantanen has had back-to-back boarding penalties and game misconducts and now leads the league in a less than preferable stat. Why? I don't know. He has always had a bit of an attitude when taking unnecessary slashing penalty out of frustration, but he certainly was nowhere close to a goon. Let's dig a little deeper here. And that's with a great rhyme I have here. 1 hit, 2 hits, red hits, blue hits. Which is actually appropriate because he hit a red team and a blue team. So, wow, that actually works out even better than I thought. Not necessarily in that order. First is the hit on Alexander Romanov that, you know, some people said he was kind of hooked on his skate, and so he was already falling forward, and so by falling forward, he absolutely checked the shit out of Romanov into the board. You know, like, I can understand that partially, but I also don't think, even if you're falling, trying to brace yourself, you still don't have to smash a guy's face into the boards, and now Romanov is out 5 to 6 months. Awesome, due to shoulder surgery. And then he hit, who was it in Calgary? What's his name? Do you remember?
Well, find it.
Oh, gosh.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
I know. It's like a C. Because he came back. I don't know why I can't remember his name.
Coronado.
Coronado was the C. Okay, yeah. He hit Matt Coronado in Calgary. That one was just, like, he just did it. Like, what are you doing? I saw both of these, and the fact that they happened in back-to-back games. First of all, you know, great that he got the automatic 1-game suspension. You know, once again, though, it proves that the Department of Player Safety is a fucking joke. Are you kidding me? No further discipline after that? Why? The first one, even if you deemed it incidental, which they did, the second one certainly fucking wasn't. He did that shit on purpose. And now in case you're wondering what the stat he leads the league in, it's not goals, it's not assists, it's penalty minutes. Mikko Rantanen, leads the league in penalty minutes. And now more than Tom Wilson, more than Brad Marchand, more than his own captain, Jamie Benn, more than any other goon in the league. And I mean, like I was saying, Mikko Rantanen, like he had a temper in Colorado. And like if he got pissed, he would deliver a cross check or he would slash somebody's stick out of their hand and you get a penalty for that. I don't know what the fuck is happening right now. Go ahead, Dom. You go.
I'm sorry. The first one, to me, maybe he's losing his balance a little bit, but just slow down. Like he didn't slow down nearly enough. He tried to use Romanov to slow down.
Yeah.
You see his stick placement, his arms go from being closer to his body to extending. So no, he is pushing Romanov, stick shaft right above the hips. Romanov has no chance to defend himself. He has no other way to slow down. Mikko did. So I understand the argument for some incidental, but I think the first one was dirty. I think the first one was worthy of a suspension on its own. And the Matt Coronado one, thankfully the outcome is better and he was able to return to the game. But the intention, the way Mikko went about that hit looked worse.
Yeah.
That one was as dirty a fucking rat hit as I've ever seen.
Intentional.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you not suspend him more than the one automatic suspension? The only reason he got suspended is because he got 2 boarding penalties and game misconducts in back-to-back games. And you won't do more? Are you kidding me? And he was fined for diving in the same week.
Yeah, he's becoming a diva if he wasn't already one. I don't know. So yes, he was whiny. He had a bit of a temper. He would slash, like you said, if he was upset in Colorado, but it was never like this. It was never remotely like this. So I don't know if there's something in the water down there in Dallas, or if he's just learning too much from Jamie Benn. But Mikko's being a fucking bitch. Like seriously. Quit going out there with trying to hit people dirty like that, and then also basically flopping and trying to get calls going the other way. This isn't soccer. I don't like soccer because you can't hit people, 1, and 2, it's just basically acting on cleats. So let's keep hockey as hockey. Man up and play, take your punishment, and accept the fact that other teams, like, I really hope Tom Wilson, even though he has no reason to, I just hope Tom Wilson tees Mikko up because then he can feel what it's like to be on the other side of it.
Don't you worry, Dom, because tomorrow, if I recall correctly, the Dallas Stars will be playing the New York Islanders in New York. And if Patrick Waugh is to be believed, you're not going to finish the game in New York. Oh boy. So he's making enemies at a rapid pace here. And I can't imagine that he's going to be going into too many places where they're going to be particularly kind to him. So yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't know what he's doing. I don't know why he's all of a sudden delivering these nasty hits. I mean, he's such an incredibly talented player. I mean, he's a fantastic sniper and highly skilled. You don't need to be going around here fucking doing that shit, man. There's no reason to. And I mean, it by no means helps the reputation that Dallas already has. That's for fucking sure. But, oh God, I'm sad, man. He's one of my favorite Avs players, and it disappoints me. Like, why is this the conduct that you're going around doing on the ice? Because I mean, that carries a weight with it. Guys end up with a reputation, and it can negatively affect them more going into the future. Like, look at Tom Wilson. Even though he's, by all facets, cleaned up his act by a long stretch, he'll get less than favorable calls or treatment by referees because of that reputation. He'll get suspended easier because of that reputation. So why you would want to build this reputation for yourself when this is not what you've ever been known for? I don't understand it.
Well, and you also, just that point you made there is almost self-proving in that I agree. he being Tom Wilson has played a much cleaner game over the last 5 years. And I think it has been as long as close to 5 years now overall. And I know we did our heroes and villains segment at one point, and I know I mentioned Tom Wilson, but having gone through those stats, it is a much cleaner game. But even now, his name was still the first one that came to mind when I was thinking rat who's going to do some damage.
Yeah.
So once that impression's there, it doesn't go away. And you hurt Romanov. Imagine if that was a star player for a franchise, like a star player, like a top line center for a franchise. You do that to Macklin Celebrini and my captain's out for 6 months. You don't have to worry about the team on the ice. I'll be waiting for that fucking bus and jump off like a balcony or something, ambush it, and I'm going to come hunting. Like, you don't do that to my captain. And I'm not even playing on the fucking team. Imagine what the guys on the ice are going to do. I mean, Patrick Waugh, he let himself get a little carried away at points, but also he's a former player, and that's why you see that reaction. And I guarantee every single player on the Islanders is going to know that number and be looking for it at every opportunity. Finish your check. I don't care if we give up a goal. Finish your check. We're sending a message like that. That's the type of coach Patrick Waugh is, and I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, Corey. That's a great point. We might see that. Well, we won't see it because we'll be at a different, more exciting game, but we'll see it on the highlights tomorrow.
What's even crazier is Patrick Waugh was even less nice when he was a player. So, everybody let us know what you think. Is Mikko Rantanen turning into one of the NHL's new goons? Is he becoming a new NHL rat? Let us know. Let us know what you think. And okay, I guess I was lied to. The Stars do play a back-to-back, but they play the Kraken tomorrow, so I'm not sure when they are playing the Islanders next, but it is going to be happening eventually, so we'll be looking out for that. But yeah, let us know. Is Mikko Rantanen the new goon, or is this just a bad stretch for him? Let us know what you think. As for your 3 Avalanche players of the week, we have Tristan Nielsen getting his first NHL point off of an assist to our number 2 player of the week, Cale Makar, who not only who scored the only goal in, the Blackhawks game, but also had a great game against New York as well. And then, of course, number 1 is not just Scott Wedgwood or Mackenzie Blackwood. It's the Lumberyard. They got back-to-back shutouts. I can't pick just one. Your fun fact for this week. What are the fewest losses in NHL history? Well, like many NHL records, it is dependent upon the lens through which you are viewing the record through. If you were looking at a pure numbers perspective, then the record for the fewest losses belongs to 3 teams. The original Ottawa Senators in the 1919-20 season, the Boston Bruins in the 1929-30 season, and the Montreal Canadiens, to no one's surprise, all sit with the few... Oh, I didn't say what year that was. I believe it was in the 40s. Sorry, everybody. All sit with the fewest losses in a season at 5. Interestingly, the Senators and Canadiens won the Stanley Cup in their respective seasons. The Bruins missed out, but they did win the Cup the year before in 1929. However, the caveat to this is for the Senators, they only played 24 games. The Bruins played 44, and the Canadiens only 50. Far off from our typical 70-plus game season that we are all accustomed to now. For that, though, we look to the 1976-77 Montreal Canadiens. Again, total shock there. Who had not only the fewest losses in 80 games, but played what is viewed as the most dominant regular season of all time, ending the year with a record of 68-12 with a 132 points. The points record only recently being broken by the 2022-23 Boston Bruins with 135 points and 65 wins. However, the Montreal Canadiens had a points percentage of .825%, which is slightly better than that Bruins team, and a goals for per game of 4.84, better than that Bruins team, and only allowed a 2.14 goals against per game. 8 losses and 12 what were at the time ties rather than OT losses. They ended that year with the second Stanley Cup of a 4-year dynasty run. The Avs are statistically on track to beat that loss record currently. Will they? I'm not so sure, as that is viewed as an unbreakable record. Then again, so was Gretzky's goal record.
I mean, records are made to be broken.
Yeah.
No matter how long it takes. That I forget who first said that quote. I feel like it's become something that's used all across all sports as it should be, but they're there. They're the marker to beat. They are what you are targeting for yourself as a player, the pinnacle that you want to be at, the most excellent you can be. That is the ultimate measuring stick. And I mean, I don't know if you went into it on those seasons, but did we see a goal scoring differential compared to what the Avalanche already have this season? I mean, because obviously we could extrapolate it out and the numbers are going to be swayed and it would be better. And whether or not that, I mean, it's probably not likely over the course of a season. You're bound to average out at some point is the thought, right? But stats like that goal scoring average or percentage, like maybe those are statistically better right now. And if they are, those might be sustainable over the course of a season and say that the whole stat is. So maybe it's not so unbeatable. I don't know. This Avalanche team this year, folks, is really that good. That offense is that potent, and the lumberyard is wow. I mean, I'm running out of superlatives for them too. I've been hyping them up this whole time right alongside you because it's really an incredible tandem of goaltending, and the fact that Wedgwood is playing as well as he has been this year is the unexpected wild card that you will happily take.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't quite dive as deep as you were just saying, but it's really just something that we'll have to keep an eye on as the season goes on. And, you know, who knows? Some people are trying to say that the Avalanche are peaking right now and then they'll, fall off hard later down the line. I don't know if I necessarily buy into that thought train. I buy into the thought that they'll eventually have, a more balanced, like they'll win 3 or 5, then they'll lose 1 or 2, then they'll win another 3 or 5. And, they won't have as much longevity on winning streaks, but I genuinely don't know if I'm buying that they're just gonna peak right now. And it's like, somebody was like, I can't see anything good out of a team peaking only in November. This is only going to result in something bad. I don't believe that. I optimistically believe that the Avalanche, again, to this extreme level, probably not, but do I believe that they'll be hitting between or around 55 wins this season? Fuck yeah, I could see that. I mean, we're already at 16, 40 more to go. So I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that, they sniff their own team's personal best that they set back in the 2021-22 season. So it's one of those things where we'll just have to wait and see. But I mean, I don't necessarily believe that they're just going to tank off of a cliff out of nowhere. And I mean, yeah, well, we'll just see. We'll see. That's all.
What helps, I think, is the depth scoring that you talked about. The fact that Chu has been out and injured and they haven't missed a beat.
Nope.
When you're missing one of your top 6 like that, who also was helping make your power play functional again. The fact that you have these prospects who are early in their career stepping in, when you have like a Gavin Brindley stepping up the way he's done and really been a nice, pleasant surprise as a return in that trade. There's a lot of different facets that come together to say that this is not some flash in the pan, but that it would project to be sustainable.
Yeah. So if the Avalanche get a functioning power play, when they get a functioning power play, the rest of the league is fucked. Anyways, everyone, come say hi to us tomorrow, or I guess today when you're listening to it, at the Avalanche and Sharks game. And if you're listening to it after the Sharks game, well, I guess you got to listen to the episode sooner so you can come and say hi to us. The clock is counting down to the final horn. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. If you have something you want to know about the Avalanche, Sharks, or just hockey in general, reach out to us on our socials or email and we'll be happy to try and answer it. The best thing you can do if you like what we're doing here is to follow us on whatever platform you're using and to share this podcast everywhere you can with everyone you can. I'm Captain Avalanche Corey.
And this is Dom from the Tank.
Check out our new episodes every Thursday, except for today when it's on Wednesday, except every other time they're on Thursday. Thanks, everyone.